The single beep of a microwave sent a house in Richmond Hill subdivision of Indianapolis, Indiana, sky high, spreading it around several city blocks, burning down several homes, and causing the deaths of two neighbors on November 10th, 2012. At 11:10 that night, the house at 8349 Fieldfair Way that had been slowly filling up with natural gas for the last several hours finally exploded in a stoichiometric explosion. Almost as soon as firefighters arrived on scene, they determined that it was a natural gas explosion and set to work putting out the fires. But once they put the fires out, they began to notice some unusual things in the debris. You see, even in explosions that look like this, there are still recognizable things in the aftermath that don't get destroyed. Appliances, TVs, piles of clothes, personal belongings, all of those kinds of things are generally at least somewhat left over after the explosion. But as investigators started to pick through the debris at the house in Richmond Hill, they weren't finding any of that. Now, two things that investigators did find in the debris that tipped them off that something was unusual. The microwave in the home looked like it had exploded from the inside, and laying next to the microwave in the debris was a metal cylinder that also looked like it had exploded from the inside. Neither of those things usually happen in a gas explosion. Usually, your debris and appliances in the aftermath of a gas explosion will be dented inward from the pressure originating from outside. So this was unusual. Now, there were two things that investigators couldn't find in the debris that did not make sense. Number one was the gas regulator for the gas meter. It was nowhere to be found in the debris, and that doesn't make any sense at all. In addition, they couldn't find the gas valve for the gas fireplace that was inside the home. It was also nowhere to be found. So investigators began to look into the owner of the home, Montserrat Shirley, and her boyfriend, Mark Leonard. It turns out that in the 3 weekends prior to the explosion, Shirley and her boyfriend Leonard had gone to a casino in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, had taken Shirley's daughter to a babysitter's house to leave her there for the weekend, and had boarded their cat Snowball all 3 weekends. Which isn't illegal, but it is unusual. But it also turns out that Mark Leonard has a bit of a big mouth. The weekend before the actual explosion, he told one of his coworkers that the wind blew down the chimney and blew out the fire in the fireplace, and then gas filled the house and it blew the house up. Unfortunately, that didn't actually happen until the next weekend. It turns out that Mark Leonard, his brother Bob Leonard, and Montserrat Shirley, the owner of the home, had decided together to blow up the house to get $300,000 in insurance money. Mark Leonard, Montserrat Shirley, and Bob Leonard, Mark's brother, conspired together to blow up the home to receive a $300,000 insurance payment. What they did was they took the regulator off the gas line so that it would have unimpeded gas flow into the house, and then they took the valve off of the fireplace so they had a reason that gas was actually leaking into the house, then set a timer on the microwave with some kind of liquid propane canister inside the microwave, so when the timer went off on the microwave, it would kick on, set a spark, and then blow up the home. The trio of conspirators would be charged with 2 counts of murder and arson, and Bob and Mark would receive life sentences, and Shirley would plead guilty in exchange for testifying against the other two, and ended up with 50 years in prison. In addition, 2 other men were charged with conspiracy to commit arson. One was sentenced to a 30-year prison sentence, and one received a 3-year prison sentence.